Hi everyone, it's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel and another paper crafting video tutorial. Today we're going to do one background, 4 cards using all kinds of amazing new products from the Pretty Pink Posh February 2024 release. All of my backgrounds today are going to be very similar, with the only difference being the images we place on top. I've die cut the Pierced Stars plate from smooth white cardstock 4 times, and then I am taking several colors of distress ink, and we are going to ink this panel up on the diagonal. Now, one of the reasons I love doing an ink blend on the diagonal is it's very forgiving as far as if your stripes don't exactly match up. You'll notice that I go back and forth between my blending brushes, really trying to get a beautiful seamless blend between the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 colors that I have chosen to use for this panel. So the ink is going to go on, and it may be a little blotchy in areas, but don't fear, it is going to turn out beautifully. Now, I will say that I don't think the Pierced Stars show up super great on this card once we add everything to it, but I do love that little subtle bit of interest. If you want to place just a big bold greeting over this, I think it would show up even better. Now, the reason it doesn't show up great for my cards is because we're going to take black paste and a new stencil from Pretty Pink Posh and stencil over the top. But if you know me at all, you know that I love a fun, decorative, interesting background. And so this just really ties in to what I wanted to create today. Now, once I have all of my ink colors blended, I am going to do the additional 3 panels, very assembly line style. Then we're going to take our stamp wheel and our panels, and we're going to apply some awesome black texture paste, grit paste from Tim Holtz. This was a Halloween color, but I love this black for bold, beautiful techniques. And against the bright rainbow of the background, it creates a really dramatic, beautiful background. Now I'm applying the black grit paste with a palette knife, but then using a stencil pal to give a very nice, even application. Oh my gosh, look how beautiful this looks. And I love that nice, even, thin application because it's going to dry quickly and still retain that awesome texture, which I want. So I am working fairly quickly because I want to do all 4 of these and then go wash everything all at once. That is my best tip when creating mass production with any type of paste, and that is to just kind of make sure you're working as fast as possible. Now the remaining 2 panels, I'm not going to grab any additional paste, at least for this one. I think I need to grab a little bit more for that 4th panel, but that's because I still have quite a bit on this stencil pal. So I'm going to move it around, and I'm just kind of pressing what's left on there into the stencil design. On the 4th panel, I will have to add just a little bit of excess, but then I will scrape anything that is left over off and back into the jar to use for additional projects. If you have not tried a black texture paste or grit paste, I definitely recommend it. It really gives you some fun results. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I always need birthday cards, so this is a fantastic project for creating multiples of birthday cards. And I am of the opinion that if you're making a mess, you might as well make the most of it and get more than 1 or 2 cards. I'm going to set all of these aside to completely dry. Now I am going to grab one of the new die sets, and you guys know how much I love my dies. This is the Party Balloons set, and I have die cut my balloons from smooth white cardstock. The balloon tails I've die cut from some black licorice cardstock. Using the same colors of distress ink that I used for my backgrounds, we are going to color in our party balloons. What I love about these is that there is a solid balloon and then some different textures or designs, I should say, of balloons that you can create some really fun details. There's also stitched shapes. So if you want more of a solid balloon but still have a decorative edge, that is a fantastic option. You're going to see me add color to these balloons and then layer the pieces together. I started with these 3 balloons, but I did come back after I had these 3 done, and I'm going to ink up a couple of more. I felt like I just needed to fill that space in just a tad bit more. And I am going to use those stitched outline balloons and then do a really fun technique to make them look like confetti balloons. But let's ink up the rest of these balloons first. I love the pink and red. Even for Valentine's Day, I think this would make a fantastic balloon. So they don't have to just be birthday or anything like that. You could use these for many different occasions. I did switch to some smaller blending brushes for these different areas. Just kind of whatever would work the best for the image that I am ink blending. That purple is pretty dark, but we're going to layer the blue star balloon over the top of the purple one. So, and it will lighten a little bit. I even blended in a little bit of the wilted violet into the salty ocean. When working with all of these small pieces, I found it helpful to go ahead and assemble as I went. So you'll notice that as I am inking these, I'm kind of laying them all together and working on it like that. And I found it worked really nice. Now for the stripe balloon, I decided to do the base of the balloon in one color and the stripes in another. I'll end up not using a couple of the stripes, but if you wanted, you could extend the use of that even more by doing or creating another balloon and using those stripes that I discard for another. I just didn't do another star balloon, so I didn't do that for this card, but I do like that that's possible. Or you could do all of the stripes in another color, and you're going to see me do something like that for the party hat card. So I'm going to grab these pieces, but I want to keep all of those because they're going to be helpful for assembly. I'm using the glue press today to glue everything together. I am absolutely loving this. I know it's not brand new, but I have been using the heck out of it and it is amazing. So let's go ahead and assemble these. So the polka dot on the solid, the star on the solid, and then we're going to work on the stripes for the star. Then we're going to go ahead and adhere these to the background of our card. I found it helpful to just work one card at a time after I did the backgrounds. The backgrounds are all the same, but everything I'm placing on top is different because I wanted to try everything out. I glued the bottom part of the balloon down. I used the next stripe as a spacer, but I didn't attach it. And then I put glue on the back of the middle stripe, and I'm going to attach that down and then remove the stripe that was my spacer. Then I don't really need to use the spacer for the next part since all I need to do is attach the tip of the star. So stinking cute. I love it, and I think they're going to look amazing. I glued the balloon strings down and attached my balloons with some foam adhesive. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I love a little glossy accents on my balloons, whether I've stamped and colored them or die cut them. It's going to go on kind of milky and you aren't going to be able to see through it, but once it dries, it's going to dry and give a beautiful glossy raised finish to our balloons that just kind of elevates them a little bit more. So I'm going to do this right now before I move on to the next balloon, because of course the glossy accents can be drying while we're waiting. I'm all about trying to have things drying and quote unquote working while I'm working on other aspects of the card or cards designs that I'm doing. Next up, we are going to be working or creating those 2 additional balloons before we move on to our second card. And I blended my carved pumpkin and mustard seed together for one of them and a little bit of the wilted violet and picked raspberry for the other one. I love the little pink purple together there. We're going to do something kind of fun with these 2 balloons that's different. I went ahead and put foam adhesive on the back of the balloons, but didn't remove the backing paper. Then I'm going to apply a layer of glossy accents, just like I did for the other balloons. Now, I don't want to add these to my card yet because the glossy accents on the other balloons isn't quite dry. And not only are we making our balloons glossy, but I also want to add some fun confetti to these balloons. Pretty Pink Posh is really well known for their amazing embellishments. And embellishments is where Paulina started with this amazing company, and it has just grown into such a wonderful company that has all kinds of different products. But I want to incorporate some of these fun embellishments into my balloons. So I want to ink blend my second balloon just like I did the first one, add my foam adhesive to the back, add some glossy accents, and then placing these into like some little trays, something to catch the embellishments basically is what we're going for here. I am going to sprinkle on some of these kind of flat confetti shapes. So let me grab those little trays. And this will make it much easier to be able to funnel all of the excess back into my little storage container. And I'm just sprinkling those over the top. You can see the little trays are catching most of that overflow. Now, if any of the confetti pieces are sticking up a little bit, I'm just going to use this piercing tool to help lay them down just a tad. Maybe I want to pick up a couple of other little clay confetti pieces and pop them into the balloon. You can do that here. They are very wet at this point. So you could even put another layer of glossy accents on top to kind of seal it all in, I suppose. But I didn't because the dry time for that would have been excessively long, I felt like, with so much glossy accents. Let's go ahead and move on to our next card. This one is going to feature the new big birthday cupcake, and we are going to make a shaker. You can use it with or without, which I absolutely love. So if you don't feel like making a shaker card, you don't have to. I did die cut 5 layers of this frame using the large shape and die cutting the smaller frosted cupcake shape out of the larger shape. And I'm gluing them one on top of another, and I will finish with my final layer, or not my final layer, pardon me. 4 of the layers are the white. Then we're going to do a layer of acetate. I die cut a piece of acetate using the full sheet. And then the top layer will go on top of that. And we want that to match the inside area so that it's all one color, or a couple colors in this case. We're going to ink it up with Candied apple and picked raspberry, so it kind of looks like a pinky red type of frosting. And I'm going to do both of these exactly the same. The frame, once it is inked, is going to go on top of the acetate, kind of sealing all of that in. And then the solid piece is going to be the backer of the shaker. Basically, we are just creating our shaker here. Now, one of my favorite embellishment products that Pretty Pink Posh does are the sprinkles that look like cookie sprinkles, because they are amazing shakers. They make great noise when they shake and are just super duper fun. So let's go ahead and use the glue press. I love this little nozzle here. It is amazing to put a line of glue that on top. I am using some acrylic blocks to help hold that down and hold it flat, like so. Make sure it's lined up. And we're going to grab our shaker material. I'm going to fill this really full of the confetti. You can see I didn't leave a ton of space. Then I'm going to just draw a little line of glue around the edge of my backer and pop it in place to seal that confetti in. I found that the 4 layers of 110 pound weight cardstock, then acetate and frame and backer were perfect and just the right dimension for my shaker. Now, while the glue is drying, let's go ahead and ink up some of the other components. I decided to make it look like there is some chocolate sauce, I guess, sprinkled on top of the rest of this frosting that we're going to pop in place. I also have a fun little star candy embellishment, I guess, if you will, that we're going to ink up. I used ground espresso for my chocolate, and I'm going to use it for the sauce and also for the cake itself. There is a cake piece, and I am going to grab that and ink that up with whatever ink is left on my blending brush. Then for the cupcake wrapper, I decided to go with my aquas, blues, and purples. Just kind of, again, trying to use all the colors of the rainbow that I used for the background, but for different elements in my card. So that looks pretty good. And I am really being diligent about cleaning up the ink on my glass mat in between each different ink blending or inking, because I don't want to transfer some blues to the yellows or vice versa, you know, anything like that. So I'm just trying to be pretty diligent about cleaning as I go. This cupcake wrapper would be fun if you wanted to mask off the different areas, or even if you wanted to cut them apart and piece it back together and do a striped wrapper. I'm just going to kind of follow the lines of the cupcake wrapper with my blending tools to give it that beautiful ombre effect. I'm really loving the wilted violet and salty ocean with the peacock feathers, but that salty ocean and wilted violet together, oh, so pretty. Okay, let's go ahead and assemble. Look how cute that shaker is. I can't get over it. We're going to glue the little chocolate right on top of here, just like so. We're going to glue our star in place. And then we're going to attach our cake to our cupcake and place foam adhesive on the back. What I like to do a lot of times if I have a busy background like we created today is I want to go ahead and pop it up with foam adhesive. To me, that always just gives it that little bit of lift that that the images need in order not to just fade off into the background. So I am putting the foam here on the back, gonna get it all how it needs to be. Now I did put several layers, I think 3 under the star, pardon me, because we have to account for the depth of the shaker, the foam, all of that good stuff. So I think that gets it pretty even. Oh my goodness, how cute is that? Okay, I did choose to die cut the bow. I hadn't done it to begin with, but the little bow comes with it, and I went ahead and die cut the bow, and we are going to ink that up with picked raspberry and attach it to the front of our cupcake wrapper and put glossy accents right on our star. I just love watching that shaker material. Next, we're going to use the candles, and these are so much fun to create. You could even use them to appear to be sticking down inside your cupcake if you wanted to. Lots of great ways to use these. I am going to do a little rainbow of candles, of course, through the center of this panel. And I think it'll be really cute with our sentiment going right through the center. Very much like the balloons I did for the first card, I'm doing some layering with pinks and reds and green, green and yellow, orange and red, an aqua candle, and a purple and blue candle. So we're just going to ink them up and piece them together. All of the little parts and pieces are amazing. There's the flame, and the little center flame part even fits really nicely. I mean, I'm sure it's like the candle wick, but I like to use it to attach the candle to the flame. I did attach some of the pieces or left them attached into the negative where I die cut them because it made it easier for me to ink them. And then I'm using tweezers. My embellishment wand, I think, needs a new tip. It wasn't very sticky. So the tweezers were great to kind of help pick up these little teeny tiny pieces and pop them in place where they go. Look how cute those are looking. I'm going to use my acrylic block to hold them down. And we're just going to keep working. Now there is a nice solid candle. There's a candle with a stitched outline. So you can choose to make them decorative. You can choose, maybe you want all of them to be hearts. Maybe you want all of them to be stripes. Maybe you want them all to be solid. So there's really lots of options here for building your candles your way, the way you want them to look. I am here for that. I love die cuts that you can totally customize to your own personal preference and style, and these candles definitely fit the bill. I think backgrounds created out of all of the candles, like rows on top of rows, I think you could probably maybe get 2 rows on a standard A2 portrait style card. You could put tons more candles in a row on a landscape style card. Really just have fun with it however you like to create. Once I have my candles inked, I'm going to use yellows and oranges with pouncing on just a little tiny bit of candied apple red onto the orange. And then we're going to attach them. So I got to do the stripes on this one first. This is another example of using those stripes we're not going to attach as a spacer when placing the next layer. I'm a big fan of all these little spacer pieces, but it also means that you could potentially create another candle. So we're just going to kind of keep moving the spacers down so that I get an even stripe for my candle. And then I'm carefully removing those. And then of course along the bottom, I can just pop that bottom piece. And there we go. Perfect. So now we're going to ink the tops of the candles really quick and assemble. I'm going to line up all of my pieces, and instead of using a circular motion, I'm using more of a pouncing motion since these pieces are so small and I didn't leave them in the negative space of the cutout. Then we're simply going to start gluing together. We're going to put the small flame in the large one and glue the candle on top. We're going to repeat that for each candle. And just like the previous 2 cards, the flame on the candle is going to be the perfect place to apply some glossy accents to give a little additional glow. We'll do that after we attach the candles to our card. Now, one of my favorite foam adhesives are the thin foam adhesive strips from Scrapbook Adhesives. We're going to place those on the back of the candle since they're long and skinny, and tilt our candles kind of this way and that, attaching them to the center of this panel. Where I left the first 2 panels of my cards 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, I did trim down my last 2 panels just a little bit to give them a nice white border all the way around. I probably could have done that for all of them, but sometimes I like to mix it up. So for this, it's when I attach it to the white card base, you'll notice that the white border is going to tie in so nicely with our stamped sentiments on white cardstock. I love tilting these candles at angles. I think it adds so much fun interest to the finished design. I used a combination of the foam adhesive strips and foam squares. Sometimes I just use the foam. Now, if you want to be able to overlap the candles a little bit, I do suggest not putting quite as much foam adhesive on the back of the candles. Instead of 2 of the thin strips, maybe just 1, and that's going to allow for a little bit easier overlap. Look how pretty. Let's go ahead and attach that glossy accents and set this background aside and work on our 4th and final card. This one is going to be the party balloons. Just like all of the previous cards, we're going to do custom inking with our distress inks to match. I did choose to use 2 of the large party hats. There is large, medium, and small. And I decided to do a rainbow stripe for the one party hat. So you'll notice I used a little repositionable tape on the back of my negative space, and I am holding my stripes in place while I work, but I am removing the stripe next to it so I don't accidentally get some over spray or over color, I suppose, for that. And I'm simply inking each stripe individually and placing it on the base. One of the things I love most about these Pretty Pink Posh sets is the fact that there is a nice base in which to attach all of these pieces. So much better than trying to attach just stripes to a card background, in my opinion. I used candied apple, carved pumpkin, mustard seed, twisted citron, salty ocean, and wilted violet for the stripes on my party hat. We didn't use peacock feathers or picked raspberry for this, but they will both be used for the other party hat. There's also an assortment of different party hat toppers that you can use, kind of a rounded design you can see, more of like a little party streamers, I suppose. I'm using the party streamers, and then pom-poms. So I'm using a pom-pom on one and like the party streamers on the other. So cute. And then we'll do our final stripe. And there is our first party hat. For the second, we're going to use the polka dot, and I'm going to ink the base of the party hat with peacock feathers, the polka dot with picked raspberry, and then the streamer for the top with candied apple. The pom-pom I'm inking with picked raspberry, and that's going to go on the top of our rainbow party hat. So fun. Now, I think this is another set that would make a really cool background all on its own. If you like creating die cut backgrounds, you could take a bunch of party hats, die cut out of lots of different colors, or you could ink them like I did here, and you could kind of put them all over and create your own pattern paper background with die cuts. We're going to pop both of these party hats up in the center of our panel. This and the candle background definitely showcase more of a minimalistic embellishment. The balloons and the cupcake take up more space or more real estate on their card backgrounds, but either way is fine. I like showing a variety of different ways you can use the different components from this February 2024 release. So once we have our party hats in place and everything, it is time to get some sentiments. And of course, there is an amazing new sentiment strip set in this release called the Sentiment Strips Birthday. And I will be using the Sentiment Strips dies that were previously released that these work with perfectly. I'm going to choose 4 of my favorite greetings from this stamp set and stamp them on smooth white cardstock with VersaFine Onyx Black ink. Then we're going to die cut these with the coordinating sentiment strip fishtail banner dies. I'm using like the medium and the small in those dies to die cut each of my greetings. I wanted the greeting to be a nice crisp black on white cardstock. I think that's going to really pop against all the bright color and then the black texture paste that we've used in these card designs. And I'm also going to die cut the scallop border sentiment strip 4 times as well, because I want to use a little scallop back behind that sentiment strip. We're popping up the foam or popping up our sentiments with foam adhesive on 2 of the cards. The balloon card, because it's going to go over the balloon strings, which are attached directly to the background. And on the birthday hat card, they're also going to be popped up because they're sitting down below the party hats. Over the cupcake and the candles, I'm gluing those directly on top. Those elements are already popped up with foam adhesive, and I felt like they didn't need any more foam adhesive, giving that any more dimension. I also forgot that I needed to add a couple of extra balloon strings, or at least 1, to the balloon card. I think we can get by without adding the other one. So I did that really quick and then attached my sentiments. The final thing that we need to do for our cards today is add a few embellishments and glue these to white top fold card bases. Using a bone folder, I reinforce the crease in the card and then we're gluing each of them down. They are so pretty. I absolutely love how they turned out. Make sure that stays put before the glue dries. And then there's just a few of those little like rainbow sprinkly pieces that I think I will add to the cupcake card and the party hat card. The candle card and the balloons, I decided not to add anything extra to either one of those, but I'm going to add just a few of these little embellishments to the other 2 cards. It's really just a personal preference. They probably would have been fine without it, but I am just going to sprinkle some or add some of these to my little triangle tray, and that way I can easily pick up exactly what I want using the glue press to get the glue, a little dab of glue in certain places. And that is it, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me today for this set of 4 birthday cards featuring 1 background, 4 cards using Pretty Pink Posh February 2024 release stamps, dies, stencils, and embellishments. The supplies I used are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me today for another paper crafting tutorial. I love being able to share with this incredible community of crafters. I want to give a huge shout out and special thank you to my amazing Patreon members. If you're interested in joining Patreon, please click the link in the description underneath the video here on YouTube. Patreon is a private community where you can support more of what I do. There is exclusive content, information, and behind-the-scenes content. Top-tier members will receive a handmade birthday card during your birthday month, access to D-Stash, and monthly exclusive lives, plus so much more. We would love to have you join our growing community. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel, click the like button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to always be notified when I have a new paper crafting video or I go live. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you next time.